Hardstyle.
Bonjour, ça va bien? I'm back from France and Switzerland. I gained 11 pounds, guys, eating cheese.
You gained 11 pounds?
Well, I was on a cheese tour, so literally I ate about 50 cheeses.
I don't think your body type was really built to gain an additional 11 pounds, Alex.
Well, I lost 10 pounds before the trip, so
so you just ended up back at square one. Okay.
Yeah,
There
exactly.
you go.
You got healthy so you could be unhealthy to get back to average.
Right. Well, and now I'll go back to the gym next week and start getting healthy again.
And what are some of the cheeses that we all never heard of that was absolutely fantastic? Because I love cheese.
So I will just tell you about one. I can't even pronounce it, and I don't have my sheet here with it written down, so I'm not even gonna try. I had one cheese. It's made by one person in the world at this point. It used to be the most popular cheese in Europe. It was Charlemagne's favorite cheese. It is a combined goat and milk cheese, and when they blend it together and they age it, they kind of separate in the aging process again a little bit. So it tastes like a feta on the inside and I want to say like a firm brie on the outside.
Oh man, that sounds fantastic.
When you bite into it, you just get all this mix of flavors and textures. It was delicious.
Cheese, for the most part, is not in my diet plan anymore. So
no, it really isn't. It shouldn't be in mine, probably, but
as is evident by the fact that you gained 11 pounds in a week and a half.
And I brought back about another 4 pounds.
You brought a whole hunk of cheese with you?
We brought back 6 cheeses. So yeah,
they
4
let
pounds.
you on an airplane with 6 pounds of cheese?
Yeah. No, 4 pounds of cheese, 6 cheeses. Yeah. It
was
a lot of fun. Also, I learned how to open up a champagne bottle with a sword, which is cool.
No, that
is
talent.
cool. Yes,
yeah. So that's the only way I'm opening up champagne now.
Do you own a sword?
I own 2 swords. I own a normal sword and I own a champagne sword.
Oh, okay. I mean, we did not miss you at all when you were gone.
Nope.
We thought the show was better without you.
Which is, the whole point of the show. That's why we have multiple people. So
no, I'm glad you had fun. Certainly on your trip, we mentioned you.
Yeah.
And we said we thought you were in Switzerland. I think is where it was.
I was in Switzerland and France. Yes.
Where in France did you go?
Annecy, Chambéry, were the two. Those would be the cities people might know. So let's go with those.
Did not do Paris.
No, I've done Paris. Paris sucks.
Okay. You have to see it once.
Yeah, and I've seen it twice actually, and it sucks both times.
It's funny because my sister and my mom and stuff were going November I think it is to go to Paris.
Oh,
or something like that.
Paris is one of the few cities I remember getting completely covered in soot just walking around.
Really? I didn't.
Yeah, just like walking around and you come back and we were covered in dirt. That's what I remember about Paris.
I mean, that happened to me, but I was in the middle of like farmland. I was in the Alps. So
this is downtown Paris. I remember walking around going, "Where is this coming from?"
I don't remember that from Paris, but I was a teenager, so.
And I also remember the Eiffel Tower being incredibly expensive.
A little bit.
Oh, to go up?
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
It's really like outrageously expensive.
Well, someone's got to pay for the maintenance of that.
Well, yeah, I know, and it's us. I mean, clearly.
Yeah, right.
But
and the one guy whose job is just to operate the elevator there, like he needs to be paid,
He doesn't need to be paid as much as I paid him.
Probably. It's Paris. He also gets he's got a lot of taxes to pay. That's the problem.
And what was great about the Paris, even if you're not an art fan, the Louvre is a sight to see. Yeah. I remember seeing that. And
and I wouldn't go back. Also, I wouldn't go back to Paris till Notre Dame's rebuilt, just because that's such an iconic structure.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the Versailles is fun to see.
Versailles is very interesting. Yeah. Just seeing the opulence that people lived with back then.
Yeah, and I'm not really much of a huge art fan. I mean, I know some about it. So I remember the Louvre. I remember showing up right as it opened, and I beelined it straight to the Mona Lisa before the crowds built up. So I was able to sit and look at it for a minute.
Yeah, both times I went, couldn't get in to see it.
That the trick for those of you going to Paris, show up right as it opens. Even before it opens, be right the first one and go directly to it. You beeline to it. That's the trick.
Yep.
And then I looked at it thinking, okay, I'm glad I saw this, but not being much of an art snob, I don't really get it. It's a nice painting, but I don't really get it.
It's much smaller than people realize. Also,
I can't look at art though and go, wow, that is unbelievable. I just don't have that in me. I've tried, but I just cannot. I cannot appreciate art for like the art snobs of the world do. I cannot look at it and go, that's just unbelievable. To me, it all looks the same. Like I looked at the Mona Lisa going, okay, it's a painting of a woman. I don't get it.
It's a good painting. It's a good, well done.
More than I can do by far, but I mean,
right. I could probably get close.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, some watercolors, man.
In the same way, I can play guitar exactly like Eddie Van Halen. You can paint that painting.
Sure. I've done one portrait. It's not good.
I can do a poor imitation of Eruption. I cannot play it exactly like Eddie Van Halen played it.
Right.
I don't think anybody could. Oh, maybe a few.
I can get close. I can get it close, but you can never duplicate history.
There's a lot of good guitarists who probably could.
Oh, yeah.
Come close.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So we should talk about some stuff with the, NFL, since that's why we're here. We're not here to talk about wine and cheese, although I could.
You could do a whole show on wine and cheese, Alex. You could.
I actually tried to talk to one of our guides because one of our guides, he owns a wine and cheese shop in Boston. He's very charismatic. I was like, you should start a podcast. He's like, no. I have a life. And I'm like, oh, thanks. Did I tell you?
Does he know that we talked about football for like a billion years at this point?
Yeah, it was a gut punch. So okay, let's start with some sad stuff and some serious stuff. Rest in peace, Ryan Mallett. Unfortunately, he passed away, drowned, got caught in some undertow. So that's unfortunate. I mean, you're talking about that guy at one point they thought was going to succeed Tom Brady, right? Like which is nuts now.
I mean, the Patriots, rest in peace. The Patriots drafted a lot of quarterbacks, so I don't know if they really thought he's going to replace Brady, but certainly tragic. I guess he got caught in the undertow in the beach out near Destin, Florida. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Terrible news. Some serious news about former Redskins running back Alfred Morris. He apparently is in the hospital. He's diagnosed with a serious medical condition. It's called rhabdomyolysis. Is that what we decided?
No, that's not what we decided. What I decided it was rhabdomyolysis.
Rhabdomyolysis.
Yeah.
You've got the L.
Yeah, rhabdomyolysis. Yes.
Yeah.
So what that is, just for those who, none of us are doctors, so we just looked it up. It's the muscle tissues are damaged and they release proteins and electrolytes into the bloodstream, and it can damage your heart and kidneys and cause disability or death. So hopefully he's getting treated and it's nothing permanent, because that's not good. Anytime one of the symptoms could be death, not a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, like the old saying goes, by the grace of God go I. I mean, this guy is 1 minute he's a star running back in the NFL and a young guy, and a few years later he's got a very serious condition that could lead to disability or worse. Right. It's just sad. Certainly, our best wishes go to him. Yeah, for sure.
He was such a great player for us too.
Yeah, you're talking about someone. I mean, a definition of humble. I mean, the guy. It's just even after his first few years, when he knew he had some money, still drove the same car that he had, and I believe he got from his grandparents or something like that.
I think eventually Mazda rehabbed it or something for him.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. The Mazda dealership in DC swapped out the engine for him.
And they put a new radio, interior or something. But point is, he wasn't doing that for attention. He was doing that because this is his car and this is what he's going to drive. Yeah, I always admired Alfred Morris.
Yeah, he was a complete class act.
And then Robert Griffin ripped him off on that, which was, a thing.
Robert Griffin ripped him off?
Robert Griffin went and bought an old beater, when he moved on.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah.
Nobody does, really, I don't think.
No, I do.
Both of you guys do. And so he bought. I don't remember this at all. So Robert
Yeah.
Griffin bought a beater.
He bought a beater when he left DC and to try and make himself look more humble in his next
Oh,
spot.
so it was after he left DC.
Yup.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. That's why I
Okay.
lost interest after he left
Yeah.
DC. I think.
Dude, I mean, the dude's a sociopath. What do you expect?
Oh, yeah, it's true. No doubt.
He's a really He's a
Yeah.
Great commentator, though, but
He is a good commentator.
Good, very good commentator. But yeah,
He thinks very highly of himself, though.
yes, he does.
no one loves him more than him and maybe his dad. You know, that's what I would say about him. So yeah, hopefully Morris gets healthy. It just does remind you though, like this game, when these guys leave the NFL, they still have a lot of health issues. A lot of them do.
Well, because this thing, and again, neither one of us are doctors. He's born in 1988, so he's, what is that, 45?
No, not 45.
35.
That's 35, yeah.
Yeah, so not old. So this thing that Alex read, everybody, makes it seem like, because they're talking about damaged muscle tissue.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so it doesn't say like genetically damaged. It says damaged, and so that leads me, without a medical degree, to believe that this can be caused by people who've had, say, several hundred impacts of big fat linemen. You know, you could damage your muscle tissue. So is this an NFL thing? And so what I would wonder, if I were representing him, is this a condition that's connected to his NFL service?
Sure. I mean, that was my first thought, you know, like, or first, I assume it is, right? You know,
I would assume, yeah.
Yeah. Well, either way, Elmo, we hope you get well soon. You know?
Oh, and the thing that Dave found that was on Twitter says, I guess he's got, this is from somebody called Commander Squad CLT. It gives Alfred's Instagram, so you can go there and wish him well wishes. His Instagram is @thoroughbred_Fred. So if you want to wish Alfred Morris best wishes, go there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nothing wrong with that. Just, you know, putting good thoughts out there.
Don't be a jerk. Say something nice.
Right. Or say nothing, but still don't be a jerk.
I don't think any Redskins fans would be a jerk, but any non-Redskin fans that are listening to this, don't be a jerk.
I would say of all the modern era Redskins, after he left, he was still one of those guys I really rooted for the most.
Oh, I did too.
Yeah. Even when he was with the Cowboys that couple of years, I was like, yeah, you know, he was a good guy.
I just couldn't root against the guy.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Absolutely not.
And I mean, he's just trying to make a living, and went to the team that signed him, and
Exactly. All right. So some other interesting stories. This is a league-wide story. A bunch of Colts look like they're getting suspended. Isaiah Rodgers is the one name we're hearing. A bunch of dudes who are caught gambling again by the NFL, and there's a lot of people criticizing the league for coming down on guys for betting on games. I'm all for it. Just like, you can't have this. You need to make everything look above board. So drop the hammer on anybody who's betting. It sounds like Rodgers was betting on his own games last year, is what they were saying. So
I'm sorry, but anyone who disagrees with the fact on coming down hard on players betting on games is just, I mean, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
I mean, it could be small, simple little bets to start with, but then you get to the point where these bets can eventually start determining the outcomes of the game. It's already bad enough that people think the NFL is rigged anyway. Now all of a sudden you want to have this on top of that potentially? No, the league absolutely did right on that one.
Well, we have talked about this to a certain extent. We did at least one segment on this on It's Just Business, and we've done many segments on gambling in the NFL. And I would submit to you guys out there that it is, in fact, more important now than it was before to make sure the players have the appearance of being above board, given that the NFL has jumped headfirst into a marriage of convenience with multiple different gambling outfits. DraftKings, prominent among them. They've moved a team into Las Vegas. The stadium's right next to a casino. You know, Steve Wynn was involved in building the stadium. So I think it's more important now than it was before. And like Dave and like Alex, I have something less than zero sympathy for players who are making a minimum of $800,000, something $1,000 a year,
Right.
to feel the need to go gamble on their own profession.
Right.
Find another form of entertainment. You don't need the money. Go
You don't
watch
need
a movie. Go to a strip club. Go anything.
betting on sports games too just seems like the most passive way to gamble, and the most boring, honestly, to me. Like if you want to go to a casino and play blackjack, I don't care.
I mean, our buddy Jamal gambled. So what? I don't care if he wants to do that. Good for him. But my point is, Jamal is not an NFL player or an NFL employee. The NFL rules do expressly allow them to gamble in casinos.
Right. You're allowed to play poker or whatever you want to do. Yeah.
I have no sympathy whatsoever for any of these people. And again, I think it is, considering what the NFL has done with their relationships with gambling, they have to do this.
Yeah. Yes. We all, I think, agree there. Like, you think about what they used to do, and I'm, like, you go back to the old Chicago Black Sox, like they banned that team for life when they got caught.
Has been kept out of the Hall of Fame for 50 years.
Right. Like a 1-year suspension is pretty stiff. I'm fine with it. If it happens again, ban them for life. Just, I would have no problem if that became the policy.
Well, I think there's probably two things that could seriously damage the NFL's
reputation,
status in the United States, to the point where they would lose significant market share. One of them is having the public believe that the league is corrupt.
Absolutely.
And the other one is injuries. If the public gets tired of seeing people get CTE, that could hurt them too.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But the gambling is bigger. If they think the refs are corrupt, if they think players are throwing games, that is a serious problem. And I think that could be the biggest and fastest way to have the NFL lose market share.
Absolutely. Because here's the thing about injuries, and I don't think people like hearing this, but you know what you're signing up for. And even before the CTE stuff was really made public, you had to kind of be an idiot to not think taking repeated blows to the head wasn't going to impact your intelligence long term.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But if there's more science that's come out and stuff, and I'm just saying that people could I think I could see a movement in the public to say we shouldn't be doing this anymore. Like the Romans did, Roman gladiator stuff. We don't do that anymore. And I could see that happen if it got bad enough. But I think corruption in the league in the form of gambling is a much easier way for that to happen.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's hurt other sports in the past too. We could. That's a whole. You could do.
There's a group of soccer executives that are in prison.
Right.
FIFA executives that have been charged with crimes over this. The NBA was seriously damaged by a refereeing scandal.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I was going to mention that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see, what else did we have on the.
It's a very slow week, kids.
By the way, it is a slow week, so we're going to be hopscotching a little bit. So while I was gone, they announced training camp dates. And we were talking. You guys don't think you actually put them out on the show? So
we know we didn't put them out on the show.
Okay.
No, we didn't. No, we did not.
All right. So, team announced training camp dates. I'll just read them off for you. The rookies are reporting on the 21st, a week early, which apparently the Washington Redskins, Commanders, whoever, they haven't done that since the 90s. Have the rookies report early to training camp. So that's interesting. I don't know why they wouldn't have every year, and I don't know like what made them decide to change that up. I'd be curious to find that out. But training camp itself is July 27th through 19th of August. And just so you know, the special days, because I looked, these were on the calendar. The 29th of July is NFL Back Together Saturday, which is the stupidest name for.
They're gonna sing "Kumbaya" around a campfire.
Yeah.
Make some s'mores.
Yeah. Hey, I'll eat s'mores with Terry McLaurin. That would be fun.
No, they're gonna put you with the offensive linemen, so you're not gonna get any. They're gonna eat them all.
Steve, I'll fight an O lineman for a burnt marshmallow.
Listen, you were in a sexual relationship with a guard, a Redskins guard, for years. So you had to fight.
That was a defensive lineman, though. That totally.
Oh, that's right. It was Meta-Ionitis.
Yeah.
I
mean,
I didn't remember
there
what
was
level it
Trey Turner back in the day, but that doesn't. I was a kid then.
Yeah,
I
mean,
I hadn't gone to Temple yet. No, it didn't matter.
I mean, you and Matt had a special fling going for a while.
Exactly. All right, so that's NFL back together Saturday. The 8th of August will be Military Appreciation Day, and the 9th is going to be Kids Day. So, those are probably the two more real ones.
So what I've heard about the Kids Day is that the team will not let parents in. So you have to drop your kids off and let them run around for 8 hours. And then
you have to drop them off in Ashburn and go to Loudon one or whatever.
Go somewhere else. And
drive to a bar and you come back.
You realize how many parents would sign up for that right now? I mean,
they promised to have Dan Snyder's going to watch your kids for you.
No, this is ruin it. Then he had to ruin it. I mean, come on.
But Steve, this is after Dan Snyder sells, or it'll be after the vote.
What month? What day was it? August 9th?
Yeah, and the vote is going to be on the 20th.
Well, Dan needs a job. That's why they're hiring to be a babysitter.
He needs babysitter
he'd
money.
Be a great clown, that's for sure.
Yeah, he would be a clown. He has no charisma, though. He's just a clown as a human. But I think he'd be a horrible clown because he's no charisma at all.
That's the thing. Most clowns don't have a lot of charisma. That's why they paint the smiles on their face.
Yeah.
Just think like the movie Joker. Those are clowns.
You know what he'd be good at? Dunk tank. In my elementary school, one year the principal promised if we did good enough on the standardized tests, he would sit in a dunk tank and every kid in the school got to take at least 3 throws.
Can I tell a quick dunk tank story?
Go for it.
Dave will appreciate this. This is back in my active duty military days. I was a first lieutenant, and so we had a squadron picnic day or whatever, and this squadron was like 500 or 600 people. It's very large. And so a bunch of the officers and stuff had to take turns through the dunk tank. But I was the one that got to dole out Article 15s to a bunch of junior airmen for when they messed up. And so when I took my turn, there was a line of all these guys I'd taken stripes from, and to dunk me over and over again. A couple of them were buying into it twice to get revenge on me.
That's pretty good.
And I know of those days too.
Oh, I know you do. Yeah, I figured you could appreciate it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I definitely a couple pilots. I certainly have a few extra throws on with that, no doubt.
You were one of them lining up. But for me, it was all the ones I looked at. It was all the ones I had taken stripes from. It was every single one of them.
I mean, are you surprised though?
No, I knew. Oh yeah, I wasn't surprised.
You knew it was coming.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I could see Steve. He missed his man. I should have taken 2 stripes from you. That was pathetic.
No, I didn't do that.
Oh, goading them? Yeah.
No. Yes. I would have done that in a heartbeat. That'd be great.
Did anyone run up and just hit the button on you when you were there?
I think one guy did do that, actually, if I recall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Meet our new airman basic.
Exactly. Anyway, sorry, but that was too good a story.
No, it's totally.
That was nice. That was awesome.
It's a good little random story.
And let me tell you something. The water in a dunk tank ain't exactly, dunking in like Fiji water, okay?
No. It gets very cloudy very quickly.
I was kind of wondering if I was going to get Giardia or something being in this water over and over again.
Well, Steve, did you have a full head of hair before you went in?
That's what happened.
So yeah, those were the training camp dates. The fact that they're having the rookies report early, like I said, very unusual for this team. Probably a sign.
There was a day or two early before, maybe.
Yeah, but this is a full week.
I know. I agree. I mean, it was like a day or two. I don't remember it being a full week at all.
Yeah.
Is that
our
a
old
new
buddy
NFL
Rick Snyder
thing for camp or no?
I don't know. I've never looked.
Because I know, like involuntary camp stuff like that, and the OTAs always rookies would be first.
The collective bargaining
agreement.
The collective bargaining agreement does define, when you can have training camp and all that stuff. Right. I just don't. Yeah. I just have never looked at it.
I just don't recall rookies ever being first for any team.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Rick Snyder said they used to do that back in the 90s. Like, that's what he remembers the team doing it. So it's been a while.
Well, and it should mention this is all in Ashburn. They're not going back to Richmond, right? Or
Oh,
are
yeah,
they?
that's the other big thing. It's back in Ashburn. So no more Richmond. There was a big thing in the Richmond Times I saw today about what Richmond's going to do with that site now that the camp is not going back there. I always thought they should just have maybe actually built a football stadium, maybe got one of the local colleges or the high schools have like a nice stadium there or something, because you already got a good training facility. Makes a little sense. But they're trying to figure that out after they spent, what was it, 700,000?
That was just a yearly payment. That was
Right.
that was just what they paid the team every
That
year.
was the cash bribe. Yeah.
That's not what they spent to build it.
Oh yeah, they probably spent a couple million to build it, right?
Oh, probably a lot more than a couple
Yeah.
million.
It's a one-story building, Steve. It's not that big.
I do real estate every day of my life, Alex.
It was 10 years ago, before inflation.
I did real estate every day 10 years ago.
Yeah, so they're back in Ashburn. No more Richmond trips for me. That's sad. I
No,
gotta
it's
figure
not.
out
You hated that trip.
I hated driving it. I loved going down there and eating barbecue and going to breweries all day. After
You're
I was
supposed
done
to
with
be there
camp.
covering the
The
team.
barbecue was
doing?
pretty good in that area, that's for sure.
Well, no, I would cover the team. Then right across the way from the team were like 5 breweries and a very good barbecue joint. So
My job was always to sit at home and process the video you guys were sending me. That was
Yeah.
my fun about it.
Yeah, not as fun.
No.
All right, so let's see. We should talk about the league vote. That's happening on the 20th.
Yeah, we mentioned this last week, but
You
it's
did?
the 20th. I think last week we knew it was either the 20th or the 8th, I believe
okay.
it was. And now we know it's the 20th. So, I mean, I told everybody that it was going to take a couple months, and sure enough, it did. But the key here is that it's gotten past the NFL's finance committee.
Right.
So that means they're satisfied with they've done the underwriting. They're satisfied with the financing. They've vetted the partners. They're satisfied with them. The finance committee would not have passed it. And this is just a formal vote at this point. That means the parade starts on the 21st.
Right.
For sure.
Right. Now, when Harris gets announced, has his intro press conference, still TBD. But, like that, because I assume even after the vote's done, they still have to do all the paperwork.
And I want to make every effort to beg whoever we have to beg to be at this press conference.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Well, this means you, Alex. If you have to take a vacation day to do this, I expect you to do.
I don't have any vacation days left.
Well, you're gonna have to quit then, okay?
Yeah, we'll figure something out.
I'll go. I'll just wear my AirPods, and then you give me the questions you want, and I'll ask them.
Washington PR, we want back in the club just for that event. All this Dan Snyder bashing is over.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Well, no. We're gonna still bash Dan Snyder, but he's no longer the owner, so they shouldn't be mad about it.
We won't get in trouble for it anymore.
Yeah. It'll be very interesting to see what happens that day.
Do you hear about all those ugly rumors I heard about Josh Harris, though? No, I'm just kidding. No.
Well, we were going to get to that because we do need to talk about the article that was written up in Dave's neck of the woods. The annual is it the Philly? I put it down.
What is it? The Inquirer?
Philly Voice.
Philly Voice. That's who it is.
Philly Voice.
The Philly Voice's annual 10 reasons the Commander season will be a dumpster fire. And they've been doing this for a long time. That the writer is Jimmy Kempski.
Jimmy Kempski, yes.
Yeah, and Dave, he's been doing this for like 20 years, it feels like, these stories. I feel like
they do one about the Eagles as well, or is it always
he does the Eagles, he does all 4 NFC East teams.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you take the lead on this, Dave, because it's a Philadelphia thing.
Right.
Well, first of all, we're talking about a guy in Jimmy Kempski who is, he's not even extremely super well liked by guys up here in Philly. I mean, he's credibility wise, he thinks he has stature. He thinks he has something to talk about, and he thinks he's right about everything. You go to correct him. In fact, one of my old accounts, he blocked me because of the discussion we had back and forth. It's just like, I mean, it's he lives in his own little world. But this article he wrote, though, of the 10 things, I will say his first 9 items, we really don't disagree with.
Sure.
Save the good one for the end. Go over the ones we agree with first.
Oh, that's fine. That'll work.
Let's kind of go through them though. Yeah.
Okay. So
Just
when you talk about the head coach, number one, head coach being a lame duck. And in this one, he talks about how he was amazed how the Colts were able to find anyone to take on Wentz. And here it was, Ron Rivera and the Commanders took him on not only just for the draft capital, but took on full salary and everything. So, so in that, he talks about how Ron Rivera entering into his last season, and now he's entrusting it with Sam Howell. And Sam Howell, he got mixed. We all have mixed views about him or whatever. So at this point, in terms of Rivera possibly surviving the season, it's palatable because he's not wrong. But he's banking everything on Sam Howell. He's banking everything on a terribly constructed offensive line. He didn't mention that. I just did. But there's just so many things going against Ron Rivera going into this year. Anything short of a playoff run, not just, we just barely missed it, but in the playoffs, I don't see how he keeps his job. But we talked about that too as well at the same time.
Well, I'll say one other thing about this. So usually teams don't keep lame duck coaches, okay? Coaches in their last year of their contract. Right. But in this particular instance, the owner is leaving. The new owner is coming in. What you don't want to do is you don't want to saddle the new ownership team with a bunch of long-term coaching contracts and other contracts. So in this rare instance, Rivera is here on a lame duck status mainly because the ownership is changing. Right. I would postulate here that he has decent leadership qualities. He has led the team through some dark times for sure, but in terms of his roster choices, and a lot of his coaching staff choices have been mediocre at best, and I distinctly fault him in particular for the way he's handled the quarterback position has been abhorrent. Oh yeah, and he has taken a pretty good offensive line and made it noticeably worse. That is his those two things are his legacy. Neither one of those are good. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Dave, did Harris fire the coach of the 76ers or the Devils, in year one? What was the history there?
Well, when you come to Harris, when he came in, he brought in Sam Hanke with him almost immediately. And with Sam Hanke came the process, and with the process, he gave Hanke full reins to do whatever he wanted. Even all the criticism that Hanke was getting in the process, doing the process, he still stuck behind what Hanke did. And for all intended purposes, I mean, it worked. It's just the draft selections outside of Joel Embiid didn't exactly pan out.
Okay, but you answered the question. So the question is, he brought somebody in, and the guy sat for a while, and then actually just playing. So I think what fans what's his name, Kemsky, who wrote this? Jimmy
Kemsky,
is right in saying this is a major indicator. It's a lame duck coach. He's not a very good coach. He's average at best. And this is all just kind of waiting for Josh Harris to put the stick of dynamite under, Ashburn Park. That's what. None of this.
Let's be clear. We use the term lame duck. Technically, lame duck usually means a guy in the last year of his contract. Rivera's got 2 years left, but he's lame duck because of the transition at ownership.
I thought he had a 4-year contract.
No, it's a 5-year contract.
Okay, then he's not really a lame duck, but it's the same point as the same.
Yeah. It's because of ownership that he would be a lame duck, is what I just want to make sure was clear. All right, let's move on to, let's go through these real quick, because you already kind of mentioned the second one.
Yeah, with the quarterback situation. And he went on to unfortunately break down how we had about 100,000 quarterbacks over the last 10 years and all that stuff. So I was depressing.
Well, more importantly, let's get it right, because I think it's funny. So what this according to Kemsky, he says since Dan Snyder bought the team in 1999, 27 different quarterbacks that started games for Washington.
Sure.
You want to read through them real fast? Ready? Brad
Can
Johnson,
you?
Jeff George, Tony Banks, Shane Matthews, Patrick Ramsey, Danny Werfel, Tim Hasselbeck, Mark Brunell, Jason Campbell, Todd Collins, Donovan McNabb, Rex Grossman, John Beck, Robert Griffin III, Colt McCoy, Kirk Cousins, Alex Smith, Mark Sanchez, Josh Johnson, Case Keenum, Dwayne Haskins, Kyle Allen, Taylor Heineke, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Garrett Gilbert, Carson Wentz, and Sam Howell.
It's the end of the world.
Exactly.
You know it.
And the other stat that's pretty cool here is that since week 1 of 2017, Washington and the Colts are tied for the most quarterbacks at 7.
Starting. Yep.
Yeah. They change one every year.
Yep.
And it's guaranteed this year for Washington because it's going to be Howell or Brissett.
Yes.
It's hard to argue. The quarterback is a big question mark here. So, I'm not going to disagree with him here. Let's move on to number 3. Chase Young is nearing bust status. We've talked about it a lot, right?
Yep.
I think we all have our concerns. I heard I can't remember who I was listening to. Because I listened to 2 different radio stations talk about it. One of them was saying that it's not fair to say he's near bust. I'm sorry, he's near a bust. I don't see how you could say he's
You're
not.
being a homer if you think he's not near bust.
Yeah, exactly. That's my thinking. Number 4, offensive line has 3 concerning spots among the starting 5. Yeah, we all know.
I would argue they have 5 concerning
that's
spots among the far starting 5, but
You see, and that's the thing I was just going to say. They have at least 4. I mean,
Yeah.
going
Sure.
across the board right there. I'll give the Andrew Wiley some props. I mean, he's better than what we've had, no doubt. Since
that
Morgan
doesn't mean
Moses,
he's
but-
the future, should be considered the future. I mean, the whole damn
No,
line is in
Sure, I get
flux.
that, but I mean, at least he seems like he can do something effectively. The others, we have no idea. I mean, Leno's decent; he's all right, but
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if you're saying who's the best of our 5 starters, it's probably Leno. He's the most consistent at the very least. Cosme has high end,
and
but
the most
he gets
reliable.
hurt. Yeah.
Cosme is drafted to be a tackle, and now he's a guard, though. I don't know if Cosme has any,
Sure.
it deserves any credit for that. I mean, Wiley, he's a pro,
Yeah.
okay. Nick Gates has tons of question marks, and they gave Nick Gates a $16 million contract, by the way.
I don't understand that.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah. And then they're saying Chris Paul right now. I've heard it's a big question mark who's left guard. So I wouldn't even count on Chris Paul. Broadly, all right. So number 5 is just stupidly broad. They always have a lot of injuries, and he's not actually talking about injuries. He's talking about how the NFLPA did that report card, and the Commanders came out as the worst team for players. So that had nothing to do with injuries. I mean, training room and staff like that is mentioned, but it's not really about injuries.
Well, I think what he's getting at here.
I think the one key note that he mentions in there is that they finished out of the top 20 in what they call injury prevention from Football Outsiders, talking
Right.
about adjusted game loss, which they have apparently done each of the last that's 9 seasons. So,
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. That is what
Right.
he's getting at is the team's training and system sucks, and that's contributing to their injury problems. Is what he's saying.
Oh, sure.
I wrote a much more comprehensive series of couple columns about injuries than Jimmy Kempski could even hope to put together. Mine was much
Right.
better than what he did. And if I'll retweet him or something here after the show.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. All right, what was the other one? We're on 6, right?
Yes.
right.
All right. This is speculation, of course, but he's saying the defense will regress when it came to their third down efficiency, which, okay, you can maybe say that'll happen. I don't know. I'm not
He didn't really.
Nostradamus.
What basis is he? This
Well,
one, I
see,
don't know if I go.
He's just
if I'm down
assuming
with this.
that they did really well in it this year. They'll do worse next year. That kind of thing.
Well, see, he's using the fact they went from 3 years ago, they were 39% success rate.
Yeah.
And then the year after that, 48.8%, then it dropped back down to 37%. But
Yeah.
if you look at that trend, if anything, we would be going in the other direction. So we went from 31 up to 47, up to 48, down to 37. So if anything, if you do what they call a trend analysis, then we would be going the opposite way, not necessarily regression. If you look at it that way. But it's also check. You have no idea how that defense is going to respond. You don't know how our young corners are going to respond, and injuries, all of that stuff. So it's who knows.
Yeah, and by the way, you bring up a interesting point there, where his other thing why we'll be bad is that they just drafted 2 corners.
Yeah.
In the first 2 rounds, which we all agreed I think is a bad idea, or it wasn't a very balanced draft. But
correct.
You guys actually have this trend exactly backwards. What he's listing is the lower number is good. So he's saying last year it was the best in the NFL, second worst in 2021. So he's saying this up and down thing is headed down again because it was up last year. So that's what he's saying.
You're right. Yeah, but all right. So they're going to start.
I think that one is kind of a weak point. I mean, I get what he's saying, but I mean, there's no real basis in analysis other than this trend line goes like this. I'm not really buying that one.
Yeah. Number 7, I don't really buy either, because it's not, when you say they're going to start to.
This one I definitely buy.
Well, I don't. They're going to play, but I don't know if they're both going to be starters right away. Benjamin St.
Maybe
will
Forbes
get a lot of play time. Fuller will get a lot of play time. So, Forbes might be, a starter. The guy they drafted in the second round is probably more of like your 4th guy right now.
We're not going to have 2 young starters at corner. In fact, Forbes isn't even is most likely not going to be our primary starter anyway.
There's no doubt Forbes is going to be on a starter.
I'm just talking about when you look at the outside corners, it's going to be set for Fuller and Benjamin St. Jude.
I think Forbes is going to be on the outside.
He's going to have to play outside. He's too small, unless you're matching him up.
He should be anyway.
Tiny guy.
That's his position, a natural. That's his natural position, anyways.
Yeah, I think. I don't know what they may cut Kendall Fuller. It wouldn't surprise me very much if they cut Kendall Fuller. We're gonna get to corners later.
Yeah, we got a whole. Yeah. We're talking about corners later. That's right.
Yeah.
All right. So then, tight ends suck. Okay, great. Number 9.
Do we agree or not agree? I agree.
I think we all agree. We all agree. Yeah. I got to write about it, and that's basically what I'm just gonna write. Tight ends suck. That's my article.
Please do more than that, Alex.
At least go tight end suck, but Cole Turner has some upside.
Right. But
a little positive.
Just write tight ends suck over and over and over and over again. At least there's more than 3 words on the page.
Okay.
That's all I ask.
I'll go all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy style, Number 9, it's an interesting question he asked. Why did Eric Bieniemy choose to be the offensive coordinator for Washington of all places? Which I don't. It was the job offered to him. I answered it for you, Jimmy. By the way, what kind of news writer goes by Jimmy? Use Jim or James. Jimmy is the guy you get to change your car, carburetor or something. I don't trust Jimmy to write a news article. Maybe take photos. Like Jimmy Olsen, but that's it. All right, so number 10 was the one we wanted to get to. Dan Snyder's gone.
Wait a minute.
I'm trying to get us through to corners.
I know, but wait. This is an interesting point. He's saying that he's questioning why Eric Bieniemy would choose to be the offensive coordinator for this team. That's a pretty valid question. Why the hell would he come to Washington? I don't agree with you. It's like, this is an offer and the first one, and but
I didn't say first one. I said only one.
But what isn't unanswered here though is, he is here, and so why is this a point as to why they'll suck? Yes, it was weird. I think that Bieniemy came to Washington, to be perfectly honest. But what Kemsky doesn't say is here why that matters.
Right.
The coach is a lame duck. We know that, but he admits in the point that he's an upgrade from Scott Turner.
Right. So that's not.
It's
sucking.
Poorly written, Jimmy. You're deconstructing your own argument here. Right. So now go ahead.
Like I said, people named Jimmy shouldn't be writers.
I just wanted to point out that this Philadelphia dude deconstructed his own argument. So now I'm happy. So go ahead.
Okay. All right. So the last point he made And Dave, I'm gonna let you kind of take this one on, especially because you're up in Philly, so you know how Josh Harris is with the 76ers better than we would, and the Devils and stuff like that. Yeah, but his argument is Dan Snyder's gone, but he says the new guy isn't that good. And basically it's him bitching about Josh Harris being not winning with the Sixers, I guess.
Right.
So Dave, I'll let you kind of take this on.
See, the biggest problem I have with this statement is, and I'm going to jump kind of to the end real quick, but I'll get back a little more details on it though, is at the end of this, you can really tell where's that? You can really tell where his motives is in terms of why he's talking so negative about Josh Harris, where he comes up with the statement of, and I know we're not a political show, but there's a point to it, is that if you're a MAGA guy or gal, you could take comfort in the thought that Jack Del Rio engaging Harris at the water cooler, opinion about how January 6th was no big deal and yada yada yada, and when Trump wins again and all that stuff. He obviously has a certain kind of feel against Harris because Harris is a supporter of, I do believe he is a supporter of the Republican Party, Republican side.
Well, what he says in the paragraph
and he was
above
a donor. Was a donor for.
Yeah, he says Harris advised the Trump administration on matters related to infrastructure policy early in the president's first year in office.
Yes. So when I was reading number 10, there were a lot of things I was like, now it's not making a lot of sense, man. You're in Philly and you know what happened in Philly, but you're saying all this. Then I read down, I'm like, well, there you go. Because when you go into just the Sixers alone, when he came in, and I mentioned earlier that, he allowed Sam Hinkie the free reins to do what he needed to do. There was no micromanaging involved, which we saw in Dan Snyder all the time. He allowed the process to work. He allowed the process to do what it needed to do. And yeah, it afforded some high round draft picks. It gave them a lot of draft capital. It gave them expiring contracts so they can make moves in free agency and so forth, in subsequent years and everything. And everything was done to the way that Hinkie wanted. And yeah, sure, the drafts turned out not that great. We got Joel Embiid, which turned out he's a league MVP, winds up being one of the top players in the league. But then you got Ben Simmons and that move that we traded up to get Fultz a few years ago, which was terrible. I mean, the kid wasn't even ready to play in the Pro Bowl to begin with. But either way, so I mean, yeah, there were moves that the general manager and the team itself made that were great moves. But he reacted and he brought in Brian Colangelo. Now he is right about the Brian Colangelo. That was kind of forced him in, and he kind of took that by the league, Adam Silver, and and they wanted that to happen and so forth. Whatever. I mean, yeah, maybe you should not let that happen the way it did. That's fine. But you can also look at the league. The league had so much pushback on the whole process of the tanking that it was almost like, okay, you know what? This didn't work out the plan. I aggravated you guys and letting Hinkie do this. Okay, I'll do you this one favor. You can look at it that way.
Look, all that's a bunch of garbage, basically. This is not an indication that Josh Harris. I'm not saying what you're saying is garbage. I'm saying this whole argument is garbage.
No, I get you. Yeah, I get that.
And what it really comes down to is this. Most sports writers are very liberal, very left-leaning, okay? The bias in the media extends to sports writers. This is a fact. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And this Kemsky guy is one of them. He's very liberal, hates Donald Trump. We don't care what you hate or dislike. But here's what they're missing, okay? The average person does not want to see politics in sports. I don't care at all who Josh Harris supports for president. What I would prefer is the owner of the team focus on sports. And what the American people, for the most part, want is to use sports as an escape from their one, mundane, boring lives, and two, from politics. Okay? And so this Kemsky guy saying, and look, I'm a conservative, so this irritates me, but this Kemsky guy is turning creating a political situation when it does not need to be. And more importantly, then he's letting it cloud his judgment about what Josh Harris may or may not do as the new owner of the Washington team. Okay. This is the stupidest, most ridiculous point he's made in this column.
Well,
I
can tell you why it's even stupider, because Josh Harris is not a Republican.
I don't know what he is. I've never thought before this moment in time what Josh Harris's political leanings were.
Well, it's very easy for me to look these things up.
I don't care, though. That's my point.
Yeah.
I don't care.
I mean, he donated to. I'll put it this way: he donated to Cory Booker in the last election.
I'm sure he donated to a bunch of different politicians across the aisle.
He did not. Just $2,800 to Cory Booker is his only donation to a politician in 2020.
Well, I mean, but like whatever. I don't care. The point is, this has nothing to do with his ability to run a football team. That's
no,
the
it
point.
doesn't. But I'm just saying that's the funny part to me. Go ahead.
Go ahead. And then he goes on and talks about the Devils. And the Devils been a bad team. They've missed the playoffs for
7 years or something like
that. Yeah, 7 years. And it's like, but what he fails to realize, what he fails to address is that he had, when Harris was there, he brought in a guy by the name, I know it was Shiro. What's his first name? Ray Shiro.
Nobody knows anyway, Dave.
Well, yeah, that's true. And in 4 years, they had a losing record, and he didn't hesitate to cut the ties with that, bring in a new GM. And when he brought that new GM, and you look at the end result of that now, the Devils have one of the best young teams in the NHL.
Yeah, but none of this matters, okay? It's this guy has got a political bug up his butt.
That is true.
He doesn't like Josh Harris because he thinks Josh Harris is one of Donald Trump's buddies, period. That is what this is about. And most people who watch football don't want that in football. This is the NBA's, all these leagues miss this point. Don't try to educate me, okay? Entertain me. I do not need to be educated on leftism, rightism, anything, any isms at all. I want you to entertain me, period. And so this Kemsky guy is just feeding into the acrimony in the world, because if you take sports away and you turn that into politics, everybody's divided then. So why don't you talk about Harris's ability to be an owner? But all this stuff you're talking about, Dave, doesn't mean anything. It's just he doesn't like Harris because he thinks Harris is a Trumpite, period. That's what it is.
By the way, I've found more donations. It's all Democrats.
I don't care. That's
I know you don't. I'm just saying that this guy.
But I mean, it's a point to it, though. I mean, Kemsky took one aspect of one decision he made, and he blows it up like he's some right-wing, extreme, fanatical. He probably thinks he's a nationalist too, and all that too, and everything. But, it's like, come on,
stop. Of football.
Exactly.
But, again, if he were a real reporter, and he's not, he's a sports writer. No offense to our sports writer friends, you're not doing research like that. It's very easy to look up who people donate to.
I've got a newsflash for people. The entire point, we've talked about this before, maybe not since Dave was here, but the entire reason we started the Hogsty was to prove we could do a better job. A better job on a show with no experience and no idea what we're doing, better than, what was the name of the show?
I don't remember the name of the show.
It was the Dukes and somebody.
Show.
Yeah. That was the whole point. And what we quickly found out is that this isn't hard.
No.
Sports writing is super easy. In terms of writing, it doesn't take much.
Beat writing is hard just because it's a grind. I'll give those guys credit for the but the
actual writing part of it,
in
an analysis, is pretty easy.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, if I can do it, for crying out loud.
Exactly. Look how dumb Dave is, and Dave does
absolutely.
Understanding sports strategies is pretty easy.
Yes.
There's only so many ways to pass a football. Anyway, the Harris thing is just funny to me. I agree with you guys. It is petty. I find it ironic that it took me 3 minutes to look up all his donations, and this guy didn't know how to do that.
It doesn't matter, though. It's like he did something
really
for
doesn't.
Trump, and that's the end of it.
You're absolutely right. It doesn't matter. But it's just very funny to me that. Yeah. By the way, he had a strategy for building these teams, and he stuck with it, and it's paying off for both of them at some level.
And
That's
at a
all.
minimum, by the way, Washington is currently saddled with the biggest train wreck in American
Right.
professional sports.
Right.
So even if Harris isn't a very good owner, wouldn't he still be an upgrade?
Right.
Uh,
And
we've had
besides, you can argue at the start of both those franchises weren't all that great. Absolutely. You can
Yeah.
argue that. But you look at where they're at now.
right.
He's made the
Right.
changes.
Right.
So.
He has plans. He figures
Yes.
out how to, and he hires people with plans and he sticks with it.
Right.
Yeah, and that leads to a whole different discussion about team building philosophy, but we can't really get into that right now.
Oh, you guys got me riled up, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry. All right, let's talk corners
it's
real
fun.
quick.
It's always good. It was either that or I was going to do the whole show as Kermit the Frog again.
Yeah. It was we're riled up, and I'm working some rust off here. I'm
Something weird is going to happen today. It was either going to be I'm going to blow up or I'm going to talk like a frog.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk corners. How is Troy Apke still on this team?
Because he has naked pictures of Ron Rivera.
I don't think Ron Rivera would care. Ron's an old hippie, man.
I don't know if he's a hippie. His dad was an army guy, but
dude, he like told jokes about smoking all that weed at Cal back in the day. He went to yeah. He went to college in California in the 60s or 70s.
Well,
man.
that he did do. Okay,
Yeah.
but regardless, and I don't know if we call Troy Apke a corner or a safety on our chart. I have him listed as a safety, but I'm not sure he really should be there. He was a corner last year, but I'm not. He was really a special teams player. So we can count Troy Apke if you want. So we'll just count him. Fine.
We got to put him somewhere.
Yeah, Tariq, I put him as a safety, but again, it doesn't, out is where he should be.
I put him in the I don't want to see him on the field.
Yeah. So we got Tariq Castro Fields, DeMarcus Fields, Emmanuel Forbes, the rookie, Kendall Fuller, Christian Holmes, Danny Johnson, Dortavius Martin, who's the second round rookie, DJ Sturgis, Benjamin St. Juste, Nick Whiteside, and Rashad Wildgoose. There, ladies and gentlemen, are your corner groups. Your starters, in some capacity, Emmanuel Forbes, Benjamin St. Juste, Kendall Fuller, and not your starters, but your kind of players. And then Dortavius Martin. Those four guys are the ones that are going to be mainly on the field in the corner group.
Yeah, I think there's no question about that those are going to be your top, quarter nickel dime guys, right?
Yeah.
To use lack of a better term. Here's the thing, and I agree. We just talked about it. They probably should not have drafted two corners in a row. But if you look at their roster from last year, Benjamin St. Juste was okay. Fuller was okay. They got really thin really quick at corner after those two starters last season.
Yes, he did.
I mean, no offense, Wild Goose, like fun name. He had a couple great plays. He shouldn't have been more than a dime guy. No one they had should have been more than like an emergency dime guy. Honestly, Danny Johnson. I'm trying to think who was the.
Most of them should have been a penny guy, not a dime guy.
Yeah, kind of.
A rusted out, busted up nickel,
right.
Maybe.
So adding those two guys is good quality depth, if nothing else. Is my point. So I'm not upset that they're here. I just would have rather maybe a tight end or a lineman.
Oh, I'm not upset, but I think the point of I think it's dumb, but I mean, regardless. Today, what we're doing is looking at the corner group. So,
right.
Regardless of why they're here. And so, what do we think about them?
I'm very curious about Forbes. There's a lot of potential there.
He's
if
so
he can bulk
thin,
up.
though.
Yeah.
The man is a beanpole. I mean, he's 6'1", 166 pounds.
By the way, the team's website lists him at 180,
Well, that's lovely, but what he measured at the combine was 166 pounds.
I know.
That is like NBA
skinny.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you ever seen NBA players in real life, serious basketball players in real life, they're all beanpoles, and this guy is basketball player level beanpole.
Yep.
It makes me wonder who are you going to match him up against? You cannot match a guy like I would think he would have a hard time against larger receivers.
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, I think he's got good speed. And I've always said that teams should subscribe to the play matchups, not left side, right side thing. Like the playing a side of the field thing never made sense to me.
Especially not when you have this guy out here.
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing is, if you counter that with Benjamin St. Juice, who's 6'3", 200, that's the guy you want on a big receiver
Yeah,
because he's got
exactly.
some size.
Right.
He can be physical.
Now,
Like, if you're playing matchups, that's actually nice to have one guy who's bigger, one guy who's smaller
Yeah.
and faster.
So Forbes in college, for those of you who don't know this, he was a true junior, 35 games,
Mm-hmm.
had 14 interceptions in 3 years, which is decent.
Right.
2022, last year, um, played 12 games, 6 interceptions. He ran the 40 in 4.35 seconds, which is good. Jumped 37.5 inches in a vertical leap, which is good, not great. But the 4.35 seconds 40 is pretty fast, 40. So
Yeah.
speed
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah, he's got speed. He's got
Yeah.
great hands. Everything I was reading said his first step, like his ability to kind of read the field and get in a good position quickly, was pretty top notch so far.
I mean, I think you make a good point, to be honest. I mean, maybe this is a corner group where you kind of have to play matchups more than you do
Right.
left, right. But the Redskins don't, or Washington doesn't have a history of doing that very much.
No, they don't.
No.
And even going back a long time ago, they didn't really do that very
No.
often. Which I've just always found that interesting that that teams don't do that in general. To me, it's weird. All right, so I'm assuming Forbes is going to be an outside starter. I like Benjamin St. Juice a lot, as player as well, but it's just a numbers game. Assuming, and you said at one point you thought Fuller might get cut. I think you even said that.
I think it's
earlier.
possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
But
I mean,
assuming
Fuller's
he's there, he's got to be your number one, right?
Well, I mean, so I've always said from the beginning of this show that you can kind of tell who's going to play based on salary caps.
Right.
Who are they
Right.
paying? And they're paying Kendall Fuller $11.625 million. And so
Sure.
they've got to play him somewhere. But I just don't think Kendall Fuller is very good. I don't think he's worth $11.5 million. And I mean, he's a guy who's been shuffled around for a reason. So sorry, Dave, but last thing here is one thing Ron has shown that's good is he has ignored some salaries and moved people around. So maybe they do cut Fuller or put him inside or something.
Well, the one thing with Fuller, he's a very, very scheme-specific guy. I mean, he's a guy that is going to cover the zone pretty well for you. But if you don't have a safety over top to take anything coming deeper over top of him, that's where he struggles the most, because he's not the quickest guy off his feet coming off the routes like that. So forth. So, but see, that's the one thing I like about Dow Green 2.0. I mean, Forbes is his instincts. But yeah, I know. I get it's please,
it's
anybody
weird.
out there thinking he's Dow Green, stop it, please.
Right.
And unfollow me at the same time too, if you follow me, by the way. But either way, but I do like his instincts for the game. As to one aspect, I think they're comparing him to Dow Green in terms of his instincts, his recognition, the plays, pre-post snap and everything, which he has all that. But Dow Green has such an uncanny memory. Not a photographic memory. I can't think of the word in terms of his memory and recognizing past plays and putting it together.
Right.
It's just, he's had an uncanny way of doing that.
Mental processing power, basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And Fours, I'm not saying he doesn't have that capacity. He shows he has a certain limit to it that exceeds most rookies at this point right now. And that's what he's shown in camp. His speed's there. His actual advertised movement off the ball or off the, break onto the ball rather is there. I mean, he's on the play on every single pass. He's either there deflected in the area or whatever. It's uncanny for most rookies that way. But his size is very concerning. I mean, he's similar. Some people say he's similar to Jalen Ramsey, but Jalen Ramsey has like 14 pounds.
None of this is
That's
fair.
a big difference.
None of this is. People need to stop comparing the guy to Darryl Green and
Yes.
Jalen Ramsey. I
I
mean,
know
that's crazy.
it's insane.
Yeah.
It's not
It
fair
is.
at all.
It is not.
No.
I agree. But it's like I mean, there's definitely a role for him. I have no problem with the corners, the players that we have. It's just the philosophy of which we got them. The players themselves, I think, are good players. I think they're going to be fine if you fit them in this defense right. That's fine. But
You're talking about Martin and Forbes.
yeah,
Or,
Martin
Forbes.
and
Yeah.
Martin and
Well,
Forbes.
they never should have drafted Martin, but I mean, that's not what we're talking about today.
Yeah, he's here, and
Right.
you just kind of hope that he'll be a good player at this point.
You're right.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So Martin's going to be an interesting one because, again, you kind of got 4 guys you can rotate right now. We don't definitely know who. At least I don't. I don't think I know who of these 4 guys will really be the best guys, situationally or whatever. Like, it'll
That's
be
a
very
tougher question. Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to watch shake out over the course of the season. Does somebody finally solidify that slot role?
But I think Martin might be the guy.
That's what they want.
Right. That could potentially do what you're suggesting, Steve, force Fuller out. Because they want to have Forbes to the outside. If they know Martin can play that slot, he can play a slot role, you could see that decision being made right there.
Mm-hmm.
Because they want to keep St. Juice to the outside. There's no way you want to bring him back inside.
He has to be on the outside,
right.
St. Juice.
Yes. Right. The only thing about both St. Juice and Martin is, they still are trying to find that Buffalo nickel that they obsess about so much. Neither of them really look like the right guy for that role to me, just physically. Like I still think of that being like a strong safety who's like 215, 220.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to find that in the corner group.
Yeah.
No, I think you got that. I think you got that from the linebacker group. I think Leak Hudson is a guy that really looking hard to be that guy. Willie?
Maybe.
Because he's got that size and he's a former safety, everything. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I always kind of thought that was the intention with Hudson too, but it didn't.
Right.
It just hasn't happened yet.
No, not yet.
Yeah, so those are the big 4. Obviously, they're going to have to keep one more of these guys. It's going to be very interesting to see what they do there. I'm assuming it's Danny Johnson. That's just my assumption because of special teams play.
It's either him or Rashad Wildgoose. He seemed to get on the field a lot last year.
Yeah, he
didn't always have success, but did play.
Yeah, but like I said, it's going to depend on special teams play mostly.
Okay, so you want to do a roster? We always do roster predictions here. So I guess I'll go first. You guys can think about it.
Go ahead.
So the locks, St. Juice, Martin, Forbes are locks. I'm trying to decide. I'm trying to talk myself into cutting Kendall Fuller.
And keeping Apke.
I'm going to say Fuller makes it for now. So that's 4. And then I'm going to go with Danny Johnson. I think you're right. I mean, I could see it maybe being Wild Goose or maybe treat Castro Fields possibly. Mm-hmm. But Danny Johnson's like the survivor. So I'm going to say those 5. I say they keep 5 and it's going to be those 5.
Dave? Where you going?
I should say I agree with the first 4. I mean, I think that's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
But I think you can make a case for Christian Holmes. I think Christian Holmes was definitely a guy who's effective on special teams, and I think he does give a little more for the inside help. He has the size for the slot. He has the size where if you needed him to be in a role for some version of a Buffalo nickel, he could give you that a little bit. But I mean, he would never really play there. But sort of like what they did with what's his face last year when they moved him in from safety down. I forget. He's not here with us anymore. But
Bobby McCain, is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, Bobby McCain. Thank you.
Yeah.
But I give Christian Holmes that my wild card in that one, the 5th one.
Okay, and I'm gonna stick with Danny Johnson. I think he's kind of that special. He's not a captain on special teams, but he's kind of the closest they have in this group. And look, your 5th guy's got to be a key gunner. Like that's what you do with that 5th corner. Is you just have him running down punts most of the time because he's not getting on the field too often unless someone's hurt. Right. So those would be my 5. They might keep 6 depending on what they do at safety, right? So
yeah, possibly. It's possible one of these guys is going to be like a hybrid, do everything guy. I'd say it's probably likely.
Yeah, I would say it's possible too.
Yeah,
I mean, and you could argue Jertavius Martin is that kind of guy too,
you
because
could make
Mhm.
the argument.
he is
Yeah.
also a safety type. So if they go 6, just for the sake of arguments, I think that's when you'll see maybe
Toriaki.
Tariq Castro Fields get a shot. You know,
Yeah,
so
he played some.
he played some good.
Hmm.
He played some last year, right?
Yes.
Did he? It says he's a 2-year player here. Has he been here 2 years, or was he somewhere else? I guess.
Originally signed in 2022,
Oh, okay.
so this is year number 2.
Oh, right. They're adding that to what I'm seeing.
He's under a
here.
4-year deal though. Just FYI. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that might be one of the guys I'd put on that list. Is Tariq.
All right.
Yep.
That's corners, kids.
That
We're
is
doing
corners.
tight ends next week.
Tight ends next week. We are well over. But by the way, no Commanders on Hard Knocks. We didn't mention that. It's gonna be the Jets. Sad face me. And Steve, you wanted to mention something about IJB.
No, I didn't.
Oh,
I
you
meant
did.
after. I meant off the air, Alex.
Oh, okay.
Forget
That's
it.
cool too.
We didn't say this. No, it's nothing. It's just some business stuff we need to talk about.
Some work stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, guys. We will talk to you all next week.
And I
Later.
look forward to talking about Kelsey 2.0.